We reached the 6th event of Quack's Marble Clash Season 2, and it's Slalom, an event we saw last season. It's the first bracket event of the season, so it's a very unique event. It involves a lot of speed and a lot of teamwork to get everyone to the end. It's a race down this long and winding course. It is aptly named, and of course you have to get everyone to the end. It's the 4th marble that counts for your time, so it's not just the 3rd. You have to get everyone down to the end, and because of that, it involves a lot of teamwork. You don't want just your lead marble to be fast, but you also don't want your lead marble to fall behind and to keep up the rest of the marbles from getting down. So you can see the bracket here, though. It's based on the championship order as per usual, meaning first off we have the last place Rose Rollers up against the King Crabs, currently leading the championship, and right now they have a narrow lead, but the Rose Rollers are quickly catching up, and they have a much tighter formation. They will hold on for the lead, and the Rose Rollers will be moving on. The King Crabs have a bit of a history in bracket events like this of losing in the first round, and you can see how the King Crabs were off to a decent start and how their lead marble was well ahead. That was Coconut doing an excellent job, but the rest of the teammates just could not deliver, and they will not be moving on to the second round. An unfortunately common occurrence for the King Crabs, but the other red team, the Rose Rollers, will be moving on to the 5.13. Very respectable time, not quite to the same standard as the record from last season of 4.77, but now for the Pollen Puffs and Checkmates, two teams that are currently toward the center of the standings. But right now the Pollen Puffs have a very big lead, and although both of them are very spread out, but the Checkmates really can do nothing about it. And the Pollen Puffs will be moving on pretty comfortably, though neither of those teams look very solid. They're both very spread out, which usually the strongest times are the ones where the team's all bunched up, but that did not happen here, especially for the Checkmates. Their lead marble is well ahead of their Captain Queen, but it looks like it's just not going to happen for the Checkmates. The Pollen Puffs well ahead there, look at that, by almost 2 full turns. They'll be getting a comfortable victory by 0.3 of a second, though both, like as I mentioned, both teams getting a very slow time. And now we move on to the Soaring Skies and City Lights. Both teams still now starting to get their groove in the main league here, and we'll see how they do here. Right now the City Lights have a narrow lead. The Soaring Skies look like they're catching up, but it's not going to be enough, and the City Lights will hold on for the win. They were just barely ahead throughout that entire heat. There was really never any passing, but the entire time the Soaring Skies were so close, but they will not be moving on. And you can see how both of these teams adopted a very similar formation, a 1-2-1, and it worked just a little bit better for the City Lights. And there you can see that right there, by a little bit more than I actually thought. It looked like it was down to the hundredths, but with a 5.41, the City Lights will be moving on. Now we've seen times all across the board throughout the 5-second range, and we'll see now a rivalry match here: the Snapping Turtles and Stingrays. This is one many have been expecting. The Stingrays have a narrow lead right now. The Snapping Turtles have a tight formation, but it's not going to be enough. The Stingrays will be moving on to the next round. The Snapping Turtles, surprising to see them go out here with how tight their formation was. It seems that it was less because their captain was doing a great job and more because their lead marble was struggling so much. And they were one of the teams that struggled in this event a good bit last season, not making it to the second round. And the Stingrays did a pretty excellent job there. Actually, they did get everyone down to the end before even the first Snapping Turtle made it. So a solid performance from the Stingrays. We'll have to see how they fare in the second round. And now the Team Pixie and the Flashbangs, another match between two former B-League teams, and both of them have already seen some success this league, but the Team Pixie have a very strong lead, and it's only growing. They will hold on for a comfortable victory here in round one. The Flashbangs looked pretty decent, but they got off to a slow start, and even with their captain trying to close in a little bit, it just wasn't enough. Even their third marble was struggling quite a bit, and that split formation is not going to work out for the Flashbangs. And Team Pixie, with a very tight formation, very comfortably ahead, they will be moving on to the next round with a 5.15, a very strong time for the rookie team. We'll have to see how the next round goes. This is now the Flying Saucers and Slush Rush, one of the teams that medaled in this event, Slush Rush, last season. The two teams that beat them aren't even in the main league, but right now they have a pretty comfortable lead, and it looks like it's only growing. The Slush Rush will be holding on for a very decent victory over the Flying Saucers, and the Flying Saucers showing their inexperience here. Not really any sort of formation. All four of their marbles were pretty spread out, while Slush Rush, keeping their captain in the back was a bit of a unique strategy, but perhaps just trying to get out of their way and let them run. And that was a very respectable time for the Slush Rush, I believe. We'll have to see what it shakes up to. And a 5.41, it was, I believe, the exact same as one of the other teams that we just saw advance to the next round. So, very respectable. Now, the Loaves of Bread and Ivy League. We'll see how these two teams can do. And they're off. The Ivy League have a bit of a lead right now, but it looks like it's growing a little bit. The Loaves of Bread keeping pace, but it's just not going to be enough. And the Ivy League will be moving on. They were one of the teams that were very fast last season, but with the way the bracket worked out, they were just not able to capitalize and didn't make it to the podium. This time not trying to do the same thing. Right now looking pretty solid, though, defeating the Loaves of Bread by a decent margin. The Loaves of Bread looked pretty fast, but up against such a fast team, it just wasn't going to work out. And that was a pretty comfortable gap of victory for the Ivy League with a 5.36. Not too bad. We haven't seen anybody get below 5 seconds yet, so no one getting anywhere near the record. But now for the final match of round 1 with the Red Rockets and Stone Golems, both of these teams struggled a lot, but one of them will be moving on. Right now, the Red Rockets have a bit of a lead. The Stone Golems trying to close in, but it's just not going to be enough. And the Red Rockets will be moving on to round 2. Surprising with how much they struggled last season, getting dead last in this event, being the only team to get higher than 6 seconds. But here they've redeemed themselves a little bit, going on to round 2, and the hosts another mishap in their season. It's not going well for them, but the Red Rockets keeping a tight formation was really key to their success here. And a 5.47 is another time in that middle 5 range over the Stone Golems of the 5.6. But now that we've seen the entire first round, there's the bracket, and a lot of surprising entries into the second round, such as the Rose Rollers, but the Ivy League and Red Rockets, 2 teams that are higher up in the standings. But we look at it now, the King Crabs will get best of the rest of the 5.26. I mentioned their time looked pretty solid, and they will be moving on. The Checkmates, unfortunately, getting dead last, but not quite as bad as the Red Rockets last season. Now we move on to the Pollen Puffs and Rose Rollers. We'll see what these 2 teams can do, and the Rose Rollers have a bit of a lead, but it's growing very quickly. The Rose Rollers will be absolutely blazing to the end. They will be moving on to the semifinals. The Pollen Puffs really could do nothing about it. Even though they started with a bit of a lead, it only shrunk, and it eventually turned into a very big deficit. The Rose Rollers, their captain there, just doing an excellent job. Orchid there, doing a great job pushing the team across the line, and that's the kind of strategy that can really win this event. Look at that, all but one of the Pollen Puffs missing out, losing to that final Rose Roller marble in a 5.19, an excellent comeback despite the slow start. Now we move on to the City Lights and Stingrays, a grayscale matchup here. And we are off. The City Lights looked like they had a better start, but the Stingrays' lead is only starting to grow, and it looks like they'll hold on to it. The City Lights look like they made a bit of a comeback, but I don't think it was going to be enough. The Stingrays will be moving on to the semifinals here. We'll have to see how they do, but the City Lights, they're showing a bit of their inexperience, but they've been very consistent this season. This is going to be another top half finish for them, and the Stingrays can say the same, but they will be moving on to the top 4 where they can contend for a medal. But a 5.39, a very solid time for the Stingrays. We haven't seen that many get to the lower 5s, so a very decent time. Now we move on to the Slush Rush and Team Pixie, 2 teams that have had many successful runs so far, or at least many for the Slush Rush. And right now the Team Pixie has a bit of a lead, but it's getting closer. Slush Rush, oh, it looks like they might have made a comeback. I have no idea who won that. They were both very fast across the line, though. Both of these teams showing that they have what it takes, but only one of them will be moving on to the semifinals, and I have no idea who. The Team Pixie looked like they had the lead all the way until the end where they bumped into their 3rd marble, and I have no idea who won that. That was so close. And looking at it now, oh my goodness, it's so tight. We'll have to see what the stewards say. And it is Team Pixie. They will be moving on by 100th of a second. They've decided that was such a tight race. But now we move on to another grudge match between rivals, the Ivy League and Red Rockets. And we are off. The Ivy League have a bit of a lead right now. It's growing very quickly. The Ivy League absolutely dominating this match. They will be comfortably moving on to the semifinals, with the Red Rockets looking a bit more like their form from last season in this event, and the Ivy League keeping a good formation, trying to perhaps just get a bit of practice in to see how they want to do it here with that 1-3 split. It seems to be an effective strategy here. Look at that, almost actually a full turn ahead of all 4 of the Red Rockets in a very wide margin of victory with a 5-12, one of the best times we've seen all day for the Ivy League. And now we see the bracket here, the Rose Rollers, Stingrays, Team Pixie, and Ivy League. 3 of them will be taking home medals, and one of them will not. And looking at it, the best of the rest will go to the Slush Rush. Unsurprisingly, great in this event last season, and will be getting 5th place here. And now we move on to the semifinals. The Stingrays and Rose Rollers, 2 teams that have been very consistent so far. The Stingrays have a bit of a lead, but it's going away once again. The Rose Rollers making another comeback, and they will hold on for the win. It looked like the Stingrays once again made a bit of a comeback toward the very end, but I don't think it was going to be enough. The Rose Rollers have been showing their consistency throughout this event, despite having never done it before, and that guarantees they will be getting a medal here from last place in the standings. We'll have to see if it's a silver or gold, but look at that. Actually, it was closer than I thought. The Stingrays did pull it back a little bit, but a 5.17 is just too good to match. And a 5.25 is a very respectable time. The Stingrays going to the 3rd place round. But now Team Pixie and the Ivy League, another 2 teams that have been very strong so far, but the Ivy League already getting ahead, and it looks like that lead is only growing. They will hold on for another victory. The Ivy League going to the final up against the Rose Rollers, trying to capitalize compared to last season. The Team Pixie looked very respectable here, but it just wasn't enough. Their formation was excellent, keeping everyone tight together, but the Ivy League were just so quick around those corners, it wasn't enough. And looking at it now, it was very close at the end. I didn't realize just how much of a comeback Team Pixie made by 100th of a second. The Ivy League will hold on with a 5.10, which is, if I'm not mistaken, the best time we've seen all day. But now looking at the bracket, only the Rose Rollers and Ivy League remain, going to the final, a very plant-based final, but In the meantime, we have the third place match between the Stingrays and Team Pixie. One of these teams very low in the standings, one very high, and they're off. The Stingrays have a bit of a lead, but the Team Pixie are making a comeback, and did they get it? I have no idea. That was very close toward the line. We've seen a lot of very close matches and a lot of comebacks in this event, and the Stingrays were off to such a strong start. You can see their second marble, Manta, was kind of holding up the captain, and I think Team Pixie might have just made that comeback. I'm not too sure. We'll have to look at it from this angle, and yes, they did. Team Pixie will be taking another bronze, as they did in balancing earlier this season, getting their second medal in the main league. The Stingrays will have to settle for 4th place. But now we move on to the main event, the final between the Ivy League and Rose Rollers. Both teams have been excellent so far, and the Rose Rollers already have the lead, and it looks like it's growing once again. The Rose Rollers will hold on for the gold medal, despite coming from last place in the standings, and a bit unsurprising with how dominant they've been all day. The Ivy League had a great time in the semifinals, but just wasn't enough here. Their formation was all off. The first 3 marbles doing an excellent job, but their captain Hedera just could not make the difference, and by a pretty comfortable margin, the Rose Rollers will be taking the gold here with a 5.18. No one actually breaking the record this event, but still very respectable times across the board for the Rose Rollers. And there's that podium, several of these teams getting redemption for past performances, especially the Ivy League, and 2 teams coming from the B League last season. The Rose Rollers getting their first ever main league medal, and it's gold. Now we look at the main results, where all 4 of their times were in the 5.1 range. The Ivy League got the best time of the day with a 5.10 in the semis, but it just wasn't enough. Team Pixie as well getting to the 5.1 range, but those top 3 really were the best consistently throughout. Now we look at the standings. The Red Rockets will jump the King Crabs by a single point into the point lead. The Stingrays jump up into 3rd. The Ivy League up into 4th. So a lot of shaking up happening in the top of the standings. The Flying Saucers dropping all the way to 10th, and the Rose Rollers with their gold will jump to 11th. But still a lot of times for things to change, as we're nearing the halfway point with our next event, which will be the obstacle course. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching.